Welcome back to the Money, Mindset and Business podcast. If you have been listening here for a while, or if you are new, I would really appreciate it if you could give that subscribe button a click and rate the show on whatever platform it is that you're listening on. Thank you very much. Let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Money, Mindset and Business podcast. Today I have a very special guest called Luke Turner, who's going to be talking about all things fitness, PT, health and whatever else pops up in the conversation. So Luke, welcome to the podcast. Please introduce yourself and tell people what you do.
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you for having me on the podcast. I appreciate it. Yeah, so my name is Luke Turner. I am a business owner. I am the owner and proud owner of a gym in South London called T2 Fit, which is a small group personal training facility. And we opened our first gym back in 2017, and we're about to move into our second location. So that'll be two gyms running side by side. And generally, a lot of my day is pretty much occupied with growing the business, keeping my health and fitness in check, and helping other people, as we say, unlock their full potential. So I'm excited to share a little bit more light on the time of year that we're going through right now, and a lot of people who are either into business or into their health and fitness, or needs to work on one or the other. And hopefully you can shed some light on some tips and tricks. We work with over 250 people now every single week. So just sharing the kind of insights from what we've seen and how people have succeeded with their health and fitness journeys, whilst also growing a business, because they go hand in hand.
Yeah, definitely. So before we get into what it is that you actually do, what got you into wanting to run a fitness business? Where did it all come from? What was your situation prior to, obviously, 2017 when you started it? What was the situation for you?
So growing up as a kid, I always struggled in school, but my biggest passion was football. All I wanted to become was a professional football player. And as I was in and out of clubs and coming into the latter part of a football club that I was playing in, I was kind of looking at plan B, because I thought this might not work. And they were offering a level 2 and level 3 personal training course. So I thought, you know what, I love training myself. I was going 5-6 days a week. And that was probably actually what held me back from becoming a professional, because I got more into lifting weights, and it wasn't really conducive with me being quicker on the pitch and being a bit more slight. I was a bit too bulky and big. And I think that held me back. But my passion for football decreased, and my passion for fitness and looking after myself increased. So once I did my qualification, I started working in a commercial gym. And at this point, owning a gym wasn't even on my radar. All I wanted to do was work with individuals, train, come home, eat, sleep, and repeat. And that was kind of like my routine. So that passion for football, I've kind of like removed that and pulled it into health and fitness. And I love working with people. I don't work as much on the gym floor anymore. We've got a team, which we're very lucky to have, an excellent team. So for me, it's more around the vision and having more conversations with members rather than working with them so closely. But yeah, that's how we've been able to get to our second site now. And I'm sure we'll go into a little bit more of that as we go through the conversation.
That's exciting. I mean, football. I mean, I've got two kids. They're 4 and 6, and both of them have just started football training.
Love that.
And I'm like, do I really want to be a football mom on a Sunday morning in the freezing cold, standing outside? But it's just one of those things. Kids' passions, they come and go like the wind, don't they? So while they're interested and they're doing something physical with their bodies, I'm all for it.
100%, definitely. And you know what? My parents have always said some of their best memories and times have been those Sunday mornings and the trips away with the football teams, going to Bognor Regis and playing in tournaments. The friends actually that they've met from football, just from kids being in the same football team, friends for life, really.
Yeah, so we'll see how that develops, because the elder one's only just really started. He's done kung fu for the like MMA for the last 3 years, and he's lost interest in it, which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Because where that sport's come up now and a lot more people are watching it, I see a lot more of the younger generation wanting to get more into like MMA, boxing, because it's a bit more of a show now. I think the mindset around that as well is much different to football. So it's much more of a challenge, but I think it's like that discipline that's needed. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, well, we've said to him, he said he wants to quit. Fine. Wants to try football. fine. If he goes back to it, it's fine. You know, as long as he's doing something
Yeah.
that's physical, I don't really mind what it is,
Love
to
that.
be honest.
That.
Um, right. So we know where you came from, and we know where you're going.
Hmm.
So where did the idea of starting your own fitness gym come from? Because I've heard, I mean, there's a lot of commercial gyms around by me, and there are a couple of these independent, privately owned gyms that it's a lot more personalized. That's
Yeah.
the kind of impression I get. So I'm seeing a lot more of these personalized independent gyms opening up. So where is your passion to move away from commercial PT to
Hmm.
owning your own gym?
Yeah. Great question. So when I was at a commercial gym, it wasn't that I didn't enjoy it and that it wasn't serving me anymore. I still loved working with people. It's the same thing as I was doing when I opened the gym. The difference was that I had a lot of handcuffs and a lot of red tape around certain things that I could do. So of course, it's the same as T2 Fit now. You know, there's certain things that a new coach will come on board and maybe want to do that just doesn't fit and align with our values and our mission and potentially our demographic. So when I got to a point of where I was becoming very established as a personal trainer in the gym, building a reputation of getting great results, and it wasn't a problem for me picking up clients, and I was generating some good income for the business. What I didn't like was when I was getting a hard time from management, and it was petty things like kit, you know, not wearing the right shorts. And I would say to them, I've got one pair of shorts, you get me another pair and I'll wear them. Like, I don't want to wear my own stuff, but I was doing crazy amount of hours and also a lot of fitness orientated classes. So I was getting sweaty and wearing tops. So I'd always make sure I had a top on, but they'd be petty to say, like, you've got Nike shorts on. They'll be black, the same as the brand, but it wouldn't say the commercial gym. I won't say the commercial gym itself. And I just kind of got fed up where I wanted to provide more value for the business, but I just couldn't. And leaving to open up a gym wasn't even on my radar, as I alluded to earlier. It was only till my old football club, funny enough, and old cricket club. My dad was good friends with the owner. He was taking a step down, and my dad knew how unhappy I was just with some of the things that were going on in the gym. And he said, "Listen, there's a small 1,000 square foot space. You could take this on and potentially open this up as a gym and work with your one-to-one clients because at the time, you know, when you've got one-to-one clients, it doesn't matter where you do it, as long as you're providing the service and it's up to a standard of what you were delivering beforehand and you have good equipment, you're good to go." So took the plunge with that. Took a lot of my clients over to that over to that small studio, and then just built from the ground up, really, from like a set of dumbbells, resistance bands, some mats, a bench, and a few other bits and bobs like kettlebells. Um, I just continued doing what I was doing, and I loved being in charge of my time. I loved the fact that I was then being able to think creatively as a business owner rather than, you know, when I was employed and I was working in the commercial gym. It was it wasn't really the culture that I liked, the vibe that I liked at times, maybe some bitchiness and some other aspects of it that, you know, I didn't want to bring over to my own space. But then on the flip side it was quite lonely. And I
Yeah,
got to a stage of where I wouldn't see anyone all day unless I was working with clients, or if I would go home and I would enter my front door and I'd have my parents there or my partner. So I got to a stage of where I grew it to a point of where I didn't know where else it could go. And I thought I'd kind of scaled it to the max. I was doing one-to-one group training circuits. I tried the whole growing a team. It just wasn't working. And either I couldn't get people to buy into the vision or the people who came on board just weren't the right fit. And then COVID-19 happened. And that was probably one of the best things that ever happened for my business and me personally, because it gave me a chance to step off the hamster wheel and just think, what do I want to do? Like, where do I want to take this? As I'm sure for a lot of people, when I speak to them, they're like, you know, COVID was a good reset to just step off and go, right, what am I doing well? What am I not doing so well? And, you know, when I opened my first gym, I was 19. So this is 3 years or so in where I was only new to business at this point. I was 21 at this sort of time. And I was just like, I know I must have been 22, 23. I was just I was either thinking about packing it in or trying to grow this to the next level. And then just coincidentally, a location came up that was around the corner from my house. Booked a viewing, and next thing you know, we're moving in there. Come the I think it was the 29th of April, we completed the whole building in 2021, coming out of lockdown restrictions, and then opened up the gym. So, yeah, there was lots of lessons that I took from that first location, because it really taught me what I needed in terms of a space needed to be really, really nice, because otherwise I would never be able to grow a team. It needs to be somewhere that a team feel proud to turn up and go to and call their workspace. Whereas the previous location was just, a small space that was okay to train in, but wasn't very inspiring. And I'm proud to say where we are now, we've got lots of people who actually want to come and work with us and are constantly asking about if we have spaces opening for coaches. So yeah, that's kind of like the backstory where it all begun. And like I said, the journey has been one of those and still is.
Yeah, that's definitely business ownership.
That's business ownership. Even now with new challenges, with the new gym comes so much more complexity with more team, accounts, just the investment involved with another site and how much more attention that takes getting it up and running, is a challenge. But that's why we're in it. We're in this game to kind of push the boat and see what else is possible.
Yeah, I'd love to ask a question, obviously, because you
Mm.
started like the gym ownership from a very young age.
Yeah.
Um, how did you deal with the money aspect of it all? Because I know a lot of adults these days that think, around not just kind of getting money in is the easy part.
Yeah.
It's everything else,
Yeah.
like the tax payments. Obviously, once you've got employees, you've got employment rules, regulations, unless you've got your obviously if they're coming to you as self-employed. How did you navigate all of that? Did you get help or did you learn it? What did that look like for you?
Well, obviously at 19, I didn't really have much of a clue about business. However, most of my family are business owners. So from a very young age, all I've heard when family gets together, dinner table, is talking about business. So I had a very good understanding as to what I wanted to do in the future. I knew I wanted to be a business owner. I just didn't know it would be in gym ownership. But also in terms of looking to take that plunge, because I had the backing of my family, very much like go for it. That gave me the confidence to lean into it and do it. So I'd saved up a pretty big chunk of money from just being at my previous employment. I had to borrow some money from family as well. But in terms of getting started with a gym, it's a pretty low investment unless you're looking to do something on a much bigger scale. Like what we're looking at doing now is much bigger, and I can talk to you a little bit about finance for that compared to the gym that I moved into at the very first stage, because you're probably looking at a couple of £1,000s worth of equipment. You've got a little bit of paint and redecorating of the gym, and then you're good to go. Like the rent was, I think 500-600 quid a month. But as soon as you're doing one-to-one personal training sessions in there, you know, within a week, you've kind of brought that money in. So because I already had a clientele, I instantly had cash flow come in.
Yeah,
Whereas
that makes a big difference.
it does without a doubt. And now moving into where we did in 2021, again, the same thing, built up a pot of money, borrowed some money off family, and then also in terms of equipment and stuff like that, with the level that we were going into with the investment, a lot of that stuff we could finance, which was great. So we actually had the previous gym operating, so we were still bringing in money whilst we were building the second gym. Then we closed this down and brought all the clients over to the new place. So again, in a much better position. However, when you look at the next stage we're going into, where we open our third gym, but the second side by
Yeah,
side, this is starting at zero
yeah,
clients, and that's the more scary part, because when you've already got cash coming in, you're like, right, I know that we've got X coming in each month. So as long as we bring that in, pays bills, pays team. But now it's at a stage where it's like we've got to have team in place. We've got to make sure we've got money in the bank for the bills, rent, and everything else that goes on within a facility. Um, and we've also got to make sure that we bring in sales so that uh, we can basically pay for those things. So there's a lot more risk involved. But it's also when we've kind of looked at the planning of it and what we've done over the past 6 months in the place we're in Causden, there's no doubt that we will be able to really make a good crack of it in Purley, which is our new location. But with the time of year as well, February is normally the time where most people get kickstarted with their health and fitness journey, believe it or not. January, obviously, everyone's very motivated. But February seems to be a time where a lot of people are ready to get stuck into their health and fitness journey because they've had January to kind of cool down and get back into the swing of things. They've got a bit more money behind them. And then come February, they're ready to go. So yeah, that's when we're opening, 10th of Feb. So we'll hopefully time it well.
Taking all those New Year resolutions.
Exactly. You know what? Most people, when they start off the back of December, normally they try to do it on their own. So they either go gym, they either run outside, or they'll do home workouts, and they'll get to a stage where they're like, this isn't working for me, and I've either given up, or I just want to enjoy going to somewhere where all the guesswork's taken out for me. And that's where we come in, where we provide a bit more of a premium approach than your average gym experience. But it's a lot of personalization, a lot of working closely with the individual and meeting them where they're at so that we can help them achieve their full potential.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's definitely a thought that's gone through my own mind. I mean, I've been a flip-flopper with the gym. Kind of, I'll go for about 9 months, and then I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered anymore.
Yeah.
And then I start doing home workouts. But my vision for my year right now is to do yoga. I'm being pushed to do yoga, so I'm hunting around my area for somebody who does actual yoga, not fitness yoga,
Yep.
because they're two very different things. Um,
What's the reason behind wanting to do yoga?
I don't know. There's just there's something inside me telling me that I need to do yoga because I've been working a lot on my mind body connection
Hmm.
and my spiritual side of things, and I'm being told to do yoga everywhere I think, everywhere I look. It's right. You need to try yoga. Properly try yoga. Don't do fitness yoga because that's not the spiritual side of yoga. That's not the connection yoga. That's just doing some shapes. So yeah, it's spiritual connection I'm looking for
Love
from
that.
yoga.
Love that. Yeah, I wish I could help point you in the right direction, but
You're wrong part of the country for me.
yeah, sorry.
I'm up in the Midlands.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've mentioned just about these people who have got these resolutions, these missions in 2024 to get fit. And as we all know, there's so many of the people who have these resolutions, these thoughts, these wishes that, right, this is the year I'm actually going to do something about my fitness. And they start and then they lose the motivation.
Mm.
What would you say to those people who actually really want to start doing it? How can they keep themselves consistent without pushing them to a point where it's taken over their lives or they lose that consistency or commitment? What is it that you've seen in your kind of expertise? Because it's a big thing this time of year for people wanting to get fit and lose that Christmas weight, the weight they've been holding for X amount of years. And it's difficult, especially as women.
Mm.
We hold weight on our stomachs and our hips and our bums. It's the hardest place to lose it. And when it's not happening quickly, we go, oh, I'll give up now. I might as well not bother because it's not working.
Yeah. I just what you finished on there is a really good point, is the speed. And it's about framing the way you think when you look at health and fitness and getting into shape or getting back into shape. And for a lot of people that we work with, then they're usually between the 35 to 55 age range. So what we found is that a lot of people between that age range have prioritized work, prioritized family, and they probably haven't looked after themselves for 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 years. And it's looking at your journey without trying to overwhelm someone and say, you need to be thinking 20 years from now, but get them to think, okay, it's taken you 20 years to get to this stage with no exercise, never looking at your nutrition, poor quality of sleep, never really thinking about how much water you're bringing on board, to then wanting to see that overnight is unrealistic. So it's about trying to think immediately about the long term. But then it's obviously much harder because you're like, well, so I've got to wait a year, 2 years to actually start to see this change. Well, then on the flip side, what you need to look at doing is getting some wins really early on. And when I mean wins, I'm talking whether that's around weight loss, that's something that's realistic. That's around just sticking to a routine that you said you were going to stick to. That again is realistic. And that could be literally 5 things. It could be water, drink 2 liters. Steps, do 8 to 10,000 per day. It could be sleep 7 hours a night. It could be meditate 3 times a week. It could be do 2 workouts a week. That is your like non-negotiable. If you stick to that for 4 weeks, you will see a massive shift. But more importantly, it's more that mindset because you're suddenly starting to realize, wow, I said I was going to do this and I'm actually doing it now. And I actually committed to it. And that gives you the confidence to want to do more. And just kind of going back to what I mentioned about what we do, which is helping people unlock their full potential, that's exactly what you will do because you'll realize I've got a lot more in the tank here than I actually think. And we can tell ourselves that narrative of I'm too old, I've got a bad back, my knees hurt. But we can definitely, if it's body composition, we can make some amazing changes without even stepping foot in the gym, to be honest with you. So it's all dependent on the type of person and what they've done in terms of gym experiences before, where they're at with their shape, how much they want to lose, how much they want to gain, wherever they're at. But I hate to say the word realistic, setting something realistic, but if you're realistic, that was kind of me rounding that up anyway. So yeah, the main thing is finding something that you can stick to and that's realistic because coming out the gate, the 1st of Jan 2024, everybody's got the best intentions to train every single day, walk 10,000 steps a day, lose 12 kilos in the first 12 weeks. And it's just looking at, what is possible for me right now. On the flip side to that, I would look at what can you afford to invest into right now that is going to allow you to make better choices and get you to where you want to get to. Because we want to speed up time. We want to make sure that we speed up the quality of the kind of results that you get, not just in terms of what you look like, but how you feel and how you function. Especially if you're coming into like 60s and you want to move into later life, with people being less people being dependent on, or you being dependent on them, sorry, so that you can actually take care of your body. With a lot of people, like I've got grandparents who they fall over and they break a bone or they hurt themselves, and it's about how can you get through to like 80s or 90s, although you might not even be thinking about that, but how can you be less of a burden on your family so that you can be in the best possible shape ever. So it's looking at where you are right now, looking at the longer term, and then not being afraid to ask for help, just like you would do if you were to ask for help from a business coach or someone who's gonna. What's that? When you invest into a business coach, you're looking for an ROI. You're looking for something to change in your revenue, in your P&L. Why would we not do that with a coach who's going to help us feel more confident, unlock more energy, so that we can actually take an extra sales call, or we can be better on a Zoom call with our clients, or be better with our team and be a better leader. So those things like getting in shape, it's going to help you do that. And what a coach will do is not just make you pay attention because you're paying for it. People who pay attention, but you're also finding out, if you work with the right coach, the things that are current right now that you need to work on, and that's realistic. So they're going to hold you accountable. They're going to support you. They're going to make sure that you have a plan in place and a program that you follow. And then you don't have to think about everything else. You just turn up at the time you need to turn up. They take care of everything else and you're good to go. That could be someone online. That could be someone in the gym. You need to find someone who you resonate with. And if you've got the money there, I would say that everyone has got the money there. They've just got to look at what they're currently spending on everything else. So whether that's around a bottle of wine a week, whether that's around going out, you could go, in London, you could go into London and spend 200 quid and not even think. That could be 2 weeks worth of personal training. So it's looking at, okay, if I start with a coach, what do I need to give up? Do I need to give up the takeaways twice a week, the eating out with my partner 3 times a week, the the handbag that I like to buy once a month, whatever it is, there's something we need to give up to unlock something else. And that's why I said at the beginning of this podcast, business and fitness, they go hand in hand. They're the same thing, because even in business, for you to grow and get to that next level, there's something you've got to give up: a limiting belief, a friendship, a business partnership. There's something that you need to drop to move to that next level.
Yeah, I completely get you with that. My own journey, I've kind of, over the last 12 months, I've been working on my nutrition.
Mhm.
So I've suffered quite badly with IBS symptoms and my cycle symptoms. So I've been working with an intuitive nutrition coach. And over the last 12 months, we've trialed things, changed things, swapped things, and it's taken 12 months for me to hit a point now where I don't even think about what I'm eating anymore.
Yep.
My whole lifestyle of food has changed. And yes, I've stopped eating things that irritate me. However, I'm not feeling like I'm missing them anymore because I've swapped them for something that's not irritating me.
Yep.
And I'm enjoying food a hell of a lot more than I was before. And that, I mean, what you've just said there about being realistic with your expectations of how quickly things are going to change is exactly that. I've started working with her, and yes, there were some quick wins because she's like, stop eating this, stop eating this, stop eating this, and see
Yep.
what it does to you. Introduce it and see whether that is the thing that's triggering off your IBS symptoms. And we found out it was. Simple as that. And that for me was a quick win because that was within the first 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, don't even think about it now.
Exactly. And you have more trust in the process because as soon as you get that quick win, you're like, oh, this actually works. Like this is, I thought it was this, and actually it might be this. And for a lot of people that we work with, the first 30 days is really important. We try to establish a couple of wins because if they get a few wins, it makes their remaining 60 days that they initially commit to us so much more enjoyable because they're like, oh, I don't actually have to think so much about the result. I'm doing this. I didn't even think about the first 30 days and I've got X, Y, and Z from this. And then when we look, because we start everyone looking at just 90 days. And that's what I'd actually recommend anyone listening or watching this is just look at a year and then break that down as you would do with a bit into quarters. And then what do you need to do over the next month, the next week, and then just reverse engineer it from there.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you kind of go into any scenario where you're making a mental and physical shift in your life and you look at it as a 12-month block, that's overwhelming. That's overwhelming because you can't realistically see 12 months into the future. You're like, I need to get from here to here. Oh my God, I want to climb this giant mountain to get there. I don't want to do it. Whereas if, like you've just said, if you break it down into a 90-day chunk and then break that down even more and break it down, okay, what can I do today that's going to take me one step closer to the other side of that mountain? And if it means drinking 2 litres of water for today, and you do it, and you keep that up consistently, that's one thing. That's one step. And yeah, I completely agree with what you just said.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even looking at someone like James Clear, Atomic Habits, he talks about like with stacking those habits, it is a habit and the things that you normally are comfortable with. So stressful day, you come in, crack a bottle of wine open, you might sit in front of the telly, have some chocolate and watch Netflix. If you just stop those things and replace it for something else, like when I feel stressed, I'm going to go and train or I'm going to go on the treadmill for half an hour before I do anything else. Like your whole mindset, everything's going to feel better for that. Obviously, it's not the thing that generally we want to we want to go and do, but getting used to those uncomfortable things and actually, being okay with the fact that it's going to be challenging for sure.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to find different ways to challenge my clients, myself, my team. Like just yesterday, my partner bought me a Lumi pod, the ice baths.
Yeah.
Everyone's got them now on social media, and I was like, you know what, because I wanted to invest in a proper one. And I was like, where it's cold, if I get the benefits from this and I use it, by the time summer comes around, I'm gonna get a proper one which like regulates the temperature. So I did it yesterday, and it was the most uncomfortable thing ever. Everything, every ounce of every muscle, every bone, tendon would tell me, don't do it, don't get in. And you get out and you feel great, and it's 3 minutes. So it's looking at different ways that actually understand it's going to be painful, and you're going to have to give up certain things, and it's not going to feel the best at times. But that's on the other side of that. You're gonna reap the rewards, and it's also there's got to be a why attached to that as well. Like, why do you want to get in great? Why do you want to fit in that dress size? Why do you want to Is it for a, you want to go for your dream job and you want to have an interview and the person look at you and go, wow, they look great, they look amazing. Will it make you feel more confident when you communicate to your team? Will it, is it that you're providing a service where actually, people are looking at you like, do you take care of yourself when you're actually providing a service which is around health? So it's just about what that's going to unlock for you.
Yeah, totally. I mean, what my coach says to me is it's getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. That is the growth area. If you're uncomfortable, you are growing, and that's where you want to be. Because if you're comfortable, then you're not growing.
Yeah.
So just get uncomfortable and revel in the fact that you really don't want to do something, and then acknowledge yourself and celebrate when you do it.
I love that.
Like when you get in that Lumi Bath tub thing, ice bath, everything in your body and brain is going, don't do it, but you do it, and then you give yourself a big high five. You go, you know what, I did that.
It's so worth it.
Everything
100%.
inside me said no, but I did it, and I feel flipping amazing, and I'm going to do it again.
Yeah. Although this morning was colder, so that was hard.
Yeah. I think next week I saw on the weather it's going to get down to like -7 to 10 the end of next week. So
Well,
I was going to ask you, Luke, are you putting these Lumi dips on your Instagram?
You know what? I put one up yesterday just to show that I've got one and I'm doing it. But I'm not gonna. I think a lot of people have been doing it for like accountability.
Yeah.
But for me, I just I don't want to be that person who every day someone goes, he's in the bath again. He's in the bath again. So I'm not going to. I'm going to do like a one a week. And once I get better at my facial features when I'm on the camera, because it was a bit like when I see some people, they're just, some people in America, they just crack the ice and they're in.
Yeah.
Wow, that looks like a hot bath that you've just jumped into. So no, I'm not. I'm not going to be posting every day, but I might do once a week. You can go and check me out if you want to. Anyone who's listening can go and see my Instagram.
Yeah, you'll
Keep me
see
accountable.
Luke's details, the social links in the description below. Have you got anything else you would like to share before we close off the podcast today? Because obviously we're in January. Everybody's starting these resolutions. Everybody's thinking about fitness, about health, about. I mean, obviously, mindset has become a massive thing these days. Because it's not just about a healthy body; it's about a healthy mind.
Yep.
So, what have you got to share about what you've done, what you've seen your clients going through, and what tips you can give people on ensuring that they're hitting all those three: healthy body, healthy mind, and healthy everything.
Yeah. Well, I get a question I'd like to ask you, and then I can give me a little bit more context to it.
Yeah.
With a lot of the people you work with and a lot of people who'll be listening to this, where do you think their biggest struggle lies around, let's say, like confidence, performance? Like, is it a belief system? Do you think it's around um, the priorities, where to apply time? Where do you think you'd say like that's the thing I often hear people struggling with?
I would say there's two areas. A lot of it comes down to self-belief. Because I work predominantly with women. There's a lot of women who have gone through being mothers, trying to grow a business, and they lose themselves.
Yeah.
So they lose their belief in who they are and who they can be outside of motherhood or being with their partner, and they lose who they are on the inside. And secondly, it's a lot of women I speak to are prioritizing business growth above themselves.
Yeah.
So it's more of they believe that they need to be in constantly rather than looking after themselves, and that's when they get that burnout because they aren't actually factoring in themselves to what it is they're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that's really useful. I think the second point you touch on is so common with, just working for the sake of working. And actually, and by the way, I'm guilty of this. So it's not even like I'm telling you, do this because this is what I've done. I am still in that same position now. And I think I always have to try and teach myself to not to go home and just that's it. I'm done for today. Actually, a defining moment for me was when my daughter got brought into the world last August. So she's a year and a half. No, not last August, the August before, 2022. And I was like, right, I need to be home at 6 p.m. to do bath time now. And that non-negotiable for me was so powerful because I knew I had to my time had to be constrained, and I had to make sure that I used time to do what I was generally doing in a day to day, but just in a shorter time frame. And when you start to have that belief and the mindset of I've only got X amount of hours today, I'm going to get this done by X time and getting out of there. I think that's really, really important. And it sounds like something so simple. And like I said, I'm not executing this perfectly every day, but some days I'm like, right, I've got this, and this that needs to be done, and I need to get out of here by 4 p.m. Let's get it going. And when you really look at where you spend your time, such as um, social media, phone calls with family, text messages, WhatsApp, before you know it, if you really looked at how much work you actually did on a day to day, you're probably looking at half the amount you think you're doing. So to not then prioritize training around that, it then becomes something that actually we're not just burning out, we're not just getting more tired and more fatigued, and when we go home we're a little bit more grouchy and things we're reacting and we've got knee-jerk reactions at times. Having that break in the day where you go and train or do something that's active, that could be just going out and getting some sunlight and walking, would make a huge impact. But definitely using time as a constraint and using it even with fitness. So not just in business, but looking at it as like, right, instead of going, I've only got half an hour to train today, half an hour is plenty of time. Just be like, I'm going to do 30 minutes fast walk, bang, go, put a podcast in. Where can you find pockets of time that you can start creating more of a healthy lifestyle? So again, just going back to James Clear, he talks about stacking things in certain positions where you would normally go out of habit to go and brush your teeth. So do you have something by your keys first thing in the morning where you have 2 liters of water waiting for you, or just things that you can just write reminders of. Okay, I've got to do that, or you park down the road instead of on your drive because it forces you to walk a little bit further. Like, where can you fit certain things in and just reshape what your day looks like? Because that hamster wheel is really, really, really dangerous because you're just kind of going round in circles, and all your focus is around business and growing that, which it should be. There should be a massive focus on growing a business, but I also think to grow it in a way that's sustainable and something you enjoy, because a lot of people get into business thinking it's going to be like I earn what I want, when work when I want. But if you haven't got the wraparound of family, work life, fitness, health, you know, something we frame to a lot of our clients is, what is your health worth to you? What is being in the best shape of your life worth to you? And if I said for £10,000 you could pay and be in the best shape of your life, would you pay it? That's normally the way we get people to look at investing into the business. But it's very much like, if I could extend your day and your life by decades, would you train for half an hour today? And if the answer is yes, let's find 20 minutes, 30 minutes to just go and move. So yeah, use time as a constraint. Really try to find and unlock what you feel like when you train and when you do certain things. Like you talking about yoga, Leah, what that could unlock for you. You might suddenly come out of each of those and have a massive, that's where you're most productive. Your mind's going crazy, or you sleep better off the back of that. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you're more fresh, you're getting more things done. You're a better decision maker. You're a better leader. You're a better communicator. You're better with your clients. Everything improves. So it's looking at what's working, a bit like you would do when you finish the end of 2023. You look and go, what did I do well, not so well? And it's like, right, what's going to help me get to where I want to get to at the end of 2024? So yeah, I kind of went a bit all over the place there, but you know where I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it all boils down to that whole self-care part of it.
Mm,
I tell all of my clients or friends, family, whoever I meet, and I see them and they're struggling, and I'm like, what have you done for you today?
mm. Yeah, it's a great question.
What have you done for you today? Because how can you expect yourself to show up for other people, family, friends, children, clients, if you're not looking after yourself? You are what number one priority is you,
Yep.
100%. And that for most people looks like some form of exercise. be it walking, gym, yoga, whatever it is for you, has to involve some sort of movement of your body, because that's what our bodies are made to do, to
Yeah.
move. So you talked at the very beginning about non-negotiables, and I've got in my mind for 2024, I'm aiming on working a 3-hour working day, because I've got young kids. So they're there in the morning, I've got school run both sides of the day. So within that, the short bit of time I've got in the day, I'm doing 3 hours of work. I've got an hour to do a bit of meditation, reading, quiet time, and then I've got an hour to do some sort of yoga, Pilates, walking, whatever it looks like.
Mm.
And those are my 3 non-negotiables in the workday. 3 hours of work, movement, and quiet time, meditation, whatever it looks like.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm aiming to have in place solidly by the end of 2024.
Yeah. I like that.
And that for me is like, yeah, it's gonna take time for it to embed and instill into my life, because I am guilty of overworking and prioritizing work over my children. So I'll be up here in my office and my kids are downstairs. And why am I doing that?
Mm.
That's what I asked myself at the end of 2023. Why am I doing that? Why am I prioritizing things that I'm doing up here? And it's because I'm not using my time properly.
Yeah.
When I'm here to do work. I've got this to do, like you've said yourself,
Mm.
and that's what I'm prioritizing. If I don't get it done, I close off and it happens tomorrow.
You know what? That's one of the most powerful things, is not being afraid to just come back to it tomorrow. You'll find a pocket of time. Oftentimes, you get stressed because you're 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 happy to. This is me anyway. I'm happy to add another task to my day than remove one. It's easier for me to go, I'll do that today as well, instead of going, you know what? I'm going to remove that today. I'm going to add that to tomorrow. Um, it's similar to the gym. We talk a lot about booking in and having something you're accountable to. You're happy to let yourself down, but you're not happy to let someone else down who's waiting at the other end for you. And it's like we need to be more in this state of what's gonna give me the best return. And similar to you there, you're talking about your day. You'll try that, and if something isn't working, you just tweak it. You just change, not being like too rigid and saying like I
Yeah.
have to do this. It's a bit like a book. If I pick up a book and I don't like it in the first 10 minutes, I just put it down. I'll come back to it. If I'm halfway through and I'm like, this still isn't, I'm not feeling it, I won't bother wasting my time with it. I'll move on to the next thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I mean, I'm currently listening to, for the second time, something called Do Less by Katie Northrup. And that,
recommend.
yeah, it's very, very good. She does talk a lot about feminine stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but the premise behind it all is working with the cycles of life.
Yeah.
And um as she's a parent, and it's realizing that children are young for a very short period of time.
Yeah.
I had a realization when my youngest turned 4 in November that, oh my God, my youngest is 4. He's 4 years old. Before I know it, I'm going to blink and he's going to be a teenager. So yes, I've got this business, but what's important to me right now is to be here and experience and be present with my children. That's number one priority in
Absolutely.
my entire life right now, is being here and present with my kids, because they're going to be, I mean, I think about the fact that I'm like 38 now, and I'm like, my parents had such a short amount of time of me being a child.
Yeah.
I've been old longer than I've been young, and I'm like, wow, right, I really need to prioritize my kids.
Mm.
So come 2:30 today, I mean, it's currently 2:15. That's it. I switch off, and I'm not coming back to this until tomorrow,
Yeah.
because
That takes
from
discipline. Yeah.
2:30 it's
I
yoga
can do
time,
that.
and then it's school pick up at 3 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Like you said, you've got a very small window to enjoy that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're quite a new parent yourself,
Mm.
and you understand. I mean, how quickly did she grow from newborn to where she is now?
Yeah, scary. It's scary. You literally, and my lifestyle before having her was was nowhere near what it's currently like. There's definitely more work-life balance. It's still not 100%, don't get me wrong, but it works for us. For
Yeah.
me, if I was to be around more, it wouldn't be as present and I wouldn't be as engrossed in being with her. It would be more like on my phone, potentially on emails, and I want that time to be quality. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
definitely dependent. Like some people probably listening to this will disagree with mine or disagree with yours and go, that wouldn't work for me because that's not really, I value this more than I value that. And it's that time of life that you go through where everyone's at a different stage. Someone who's in their 50s, 60s who are looking to retire, they're looking at that next phase of life. And it's the same for someone going from like 18 to into their 20s. Again, their priorities are going to be probably going out, enjoying time with their friends and family. And where I'm at in this phase of my life, it's about I'm in that phase of grinding, but also trying to grow a family,
Yeah.
trying to maintain the two of them, which is a challenge. But it's being a dad is the best thing in the world.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's not about taking on what other people tell you to do or what other people are doing.
Mm,
It's all about finding what works for you. Yeah.
absolutely.
Working 3 hours a day may not help anybody else who's listening to this podcast, but right now that works for me
Yeah.
because it means I'm hitting all of my non-negotiables every single day.
Yeah. And I bet you work quick knowing you've got 3 hours. I bet you move with intensity. Like you're like, right, I've got 3 hours to crack through this. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my mobile phone's here, right next to me. I've not looked at it since I've come into the office because I don't need to.
Yeah.
The only time that actually I hear it ring is if it's the school or my husband.
Yeah.
They're the only calls that are allowed through.
I need to put that setting on.
But yeah, it's. I think it's all about finding what works for you. Whether when it comes to business, when it comes to health, when it comes to parenting, or whatever it is that you're doing, just find something, a flow that works for you.
Yeah.
And if you do feel like something's off, get comfortable with being uncomfortable while you're shifting gears.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
100%.
And you know what? I've become very obsessed with listening to and talking to people who are very successful and just seeing what their day looks like. And it's
Oh
that
yeah,
that that's there's a lot of power in that as well. Just listening to us obviously talk about our days, but um, people who you admire and that you want to be like, how do they operate? What do they operate on a day to day? You know what? Like I've got some mentors and some people I look up to are grind, 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 like literally from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed. And there's some mentors that have same as yourself, 3 to 5 hours a day of heavy workload. They're very good at delegating. They have a team who work with them, and their whole goal is to protect their energy. But you just got to pick things that you look at and go, I might bring that in, or I'm not going to allow that to happen anymore because that's what that person's doing. And it's trying to have those conversations with leaders, with other people that you admire, and figure out what their day looks like. You know what was really powerful? Jeff Bezos did an interview with Lex Friedman, I think, on a podcast a few weeks ago. He's never done a podcast before, but you get behind the scenes access, and what a time we're living in where you can actually get that
yeah.
at your fingertips and hear from one of the most successful entrepreneurs ever talking about how he used to structure a meeting and what his day looks like. He gets up, first 15 minutes, he has a coffee and potters around. It's like you hear that, you go, really? Wow, okay. Well, if Jeff can do it,
Well, yeah, yeah. It's you build to that point.
mm,
You set the intention in your mind of how you want your life to look like, and you just create from that, from where
mm,
you are.
absolutely.
Because there's always a way to create exactly what you want. I
Yeah.
mean, my coach, her ethos in life is to have fun and love her family unconditionally, that it ripples out to the world. That's her goal in life.
Mm,
And she's phenomenally successful at doing that.
mm,
And she serves people and allows people and shows people how they can create that in their own lives. So that's somebody who I look up to because she's
mm,
jetting off here, there, and everywhere and having the time of her life, all while making multi six figures.
yeah.
She's having so much fun.
Yeah.
I want to have fun every day.
Don't we all? Yeah.
Awesome. I've had this. This has been a wonderful conversation, a wonderful chat, and I can't
Yeah.
wait for this to be out.
Yeah. No, thank you
Um,
so much for your
are
time.
you ready to become a wealth warrior in 2024? If so, come and follow me on Instagram at I am Leah Crowfoot, where you can find out more about how you can become a wealth warrior through your own money mindset transformation.